Hello, and welcome to another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, where we explore ways to achieve those two goals. And cool people come on to help us, like Scotty Milas. He is a career transition franchise consultant. And I think some of us might be in a career that we'd like to transition right the heck out of, right? Scotty is going to help us do that. He has tons of experience in the franchise industry. He has helped tons of people, many people from a variety of backgrounds, to learn how to discover financial freedom through franchise ownership, as well as how to franchise their current company, which is a whole another angle, which is an interesting one to start with or to, attack this from. He's a sought after expert, and he has appeared on several leadership panels. And today he's even elevated to our podcast at various franchise conferences. And Scotty, thanks so much for being with us today.
It's great to be here, Christine. Thanks for having me.
So, Scotty, why should we go and buy someone else's business instead of starting our own?
The timing of this conversation is great because I actually had interviewed somebody today for my podcast on an independent, somebody that I knew. We kind of started together in the recruiting industry many, many moons ago, and we both kind of left at the same time. And he started his own business. I look at it this way. There are two types of entrepreneurs, I think. There are the visionaries, people who, have developed this concept idea, people who are really in tune to the details of putting the systems together, the operations side, really every gamut, really good at, hiring all the components and, really want to kind of build everything. And then there's the entrepreneur who really wants to build that legacy, build that wealth, but really doesn't want to deep dive into the minutia. I call it less is more. So a franchise becomes a great option because the recipes, the best practices, all the systems are there. You as the franchisee really just have to delegate and build the business and rely on the franchisor to help you with the ideas and running the business.
In a way, it's that all of the mistakes have already been made for you, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And documented. And now you can just start off with all the good stuff.
Yep. It's, I had this debate with somebody a couple of weeks ago, same thing, looking really kind of asked the same question you did. And they said, well, I don't want to pay royalties. And I said, well, okay. I said, I understand that. I said, but do you think that you're not going to be paying royalties if you start your own business as an independent? They said, well, of course not. I don't have royalties. I said, well, right, you don't have, quote, royalties, but you're going to be paying into the company to build those systems, to build those best practices. And that's what the royalties are for the brand, to build an income and to have those support mechanisms to build it. So I said, it's the same thing. I said, it's just, and yours are probably going to cost more than you would pay into a franchise. So I said, whatever you want to do is okay with me, but it depends on what type of entrepreneur you are.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was with my mom the other day at the mall, and we walked by one of those pretzel places. And she said, look, they have the design of the pretzel on the table. And I said, because it's a franchise. And you can't just have somebody making any old size pretzel, right? Exactly. Everything has to be the same. And somebody worked that out. Like, what's the right size? What's the right depth? If you do it too fat, they're not going to cook in the middle. And somebody worked all those bugs out. And as a person who have started multiple businesses myself, there are a lot of kinks that have to get worked out before you can get to that point, right? And they've all been done for you.
Yep. I agree with you. And that's a great analogy. It's, I was part of a fast casual better burger concept. I helped build it. Put it on the map. I headed up U.S. development. And we used to get, 3, 4, 5-star chefs that come in and want to start a franchise, a restaurant. But the questions they always ask at Discovery Day is, can I do this? Can I do that? Why do I have to do it that way? Why can't I do that? And I used to say to them, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you call up the CEO or president of McDonald's and ask them if you can change the golden arches to green arches? And I want you to let me know what they say. And all kidding aside, I used to tell people, well, then start your own burger concept if that's the way you want to do it. But this is a proven system, and that's what franchises are. And it doesn't have to be food. It's a proven system. It's a proven method of being successful.
Yeah, exactly. And so there are, I think, about a gazillion different models of franchise. So when you meet with someone, how do you help them to sort of narrow it down from, even if they know they want food service, for example, but that's not even all there is, right? You can do so talk us through sort of.
That's a great question. With 3,000 franchises, you're absolutely right. And not all of them are good ones, but there are a lot of great ones. And I think the first thing is that we really have to take a deep dive into someone's inner self. What are the things that they like to do and don't like to do? And I think one of the things that I really like to kind of take a deep dive on is someone's sales aptitude. And now I'm not talking about, and I'm dating myself here, the Willy Loman, where you're carrying a briefcase and you're knocking on doors. But unless you have that characteristic and that sales aptitude to be able to meet people and make presentations, proposals, boardroom, residential presentations, you really need to focus more on a retail business. Because if you're not comfortable working with people and presenting, then there's no sense getting into what we would call a service-based business. So you want something retail. The other thing that I like to focus on, and this is what kind of separates me a little different is what's the exit strategy? Because there are certain businesses that you can build, but if you want to get out and sell it, some businesses you just can't sell. They're not worth anything unless you're part of the business. So those are two areas that we like to focus in on. I like to focus in on the number of hours someone likes to work, traditional 7 days a week, 6 days a week. When you get into retail, you're typically talking 7, not that you're going to be there every day, but your phone could ring. Yeah. So there are a lot of little things that we have to get into. What type of labor do you want? Skilled labor, unskilled labor, hourly, salary. So, I mean, there are a lot of things to focus in on that you can zero in on the types of brands to present. And of course, there's the financial side as well.
When I was thinking, when you were saying unskilled labor, I was thinking about that a person might want their family to be a part of it, right? Everybody's going to learn together to build this business, and they're basically unskilled.
Right. And it's not a knock on the difference between skilled and unskilled. No. But if you're going to open a McDonald's, and I mean, look, there's a lot more to the Golden Arches and to the 5 foot foot long. I mean, there's a lot more out there, but you don't need a degree to make a sandwich at Subway. And a lot of the labor there is that part-time students, people looking for discretionary income. When you get into more of cosmetology, health and wellness, it's more of skilled labor. Skilled labor costs more. So, and what are you comfortable working with or providing oversight to? So I think those are important traits to learn about somebody and how they can manage those people.
Absolutely. And how about startup costs? Do those differ?
Yeah. Qualifications range to qualify for a certain brand. Most brands are looking for a certain liquidity. Doesn't mean you're going to use it, but they don't want you starting the business and then not being able to kind of live, as they say, pay your bills, and then net worth. And those are factors that take into consideration if you're looking for third-party financing, whether it's a SBA loan. The ROBS rollover program is a big program right now where people can utilize their 401k without any tax consequences or income tax, initial income tax. Rolling it over into a C corporation. So there are a lot of different ways, but financing is important. You don't want to be undercapitalized going into a business, but then again, you don't want to be overcapitalized and all of a sudden think you have a lot of money and you're spending it.
Yeah, so there's a certain amount of. Yep. There's a sweet spot there, right?
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
And I'm just thinking about this idea of someone sort of starting with nothing. You kind of have to start your own business if you want to start with nothing.
Yeah. Look, I get people that call me up that don't have enough liquid or net worth. And they're like, look, I'm just looking for my start. The SBA says I'm not qualified. And really, under law, there are no qualifications for an SBA loan, but people don't realize it's the banks that are initiating the loan. It's not the SBA. The SBA is just guaranteeing the loan to the bank or the financial institution. So look, there are some great lower end, under six-figure, under $100,000 brands to invest in. But again, some of those brands start out being more discretionary income, but as you scale, you start building your wealth.
Right. Right. So you could potentially
Rome,
start
yeah,
it as a,
yeah.
could you start that as a second job? I mean, are all of these
Yep.
going to be 100% full time? Okay.
Nope. You could do these as what we call semi-absentee, although I caution people on the word semi-absentee. Passive, you just don't want to invest any amount of money and kind of hand it over to somebody and say, run it for me, or get bored and then there goes your investment. So semi-absentee doesn't mean that you're not involved. It's just kind of more of how many hours a week do you want to work? And those are some of the things that we discuss in the consultation process before we introduce someone to brands.
Yeah, great idea. And then once they choose one, do you sort of pass them over to that, get them into the machine, if you will?
Yeah, I provide my clients with documents on questions you should be asking, questions you shouldn't be asking, the validation stage when you're talking to the franchisor, because eventually in your validation, you want to talk to franchisees. My goal is to get my clients to make a validated decision and not an emotional decision, because emotion does come into play. And the big part of emotion is fear and anxiety. So we have to kind of wiggle our way through all that, because it's human psychology. It's normal human behavior. You're going to have fear and anxiety. And trust me, the people that have fear and anxiety are the right way to go. That's where you should be. The people without fear and anxiety, unless you've done this before and you're, adding a brand to your portfolio, those are the ones that I get concerned about. Oh, this is easy. I can do this.
Yeah.
I'll just write a check, just don't worry about it. Those are the people that I kind of,
yeah,
especially the first timers.
Yeah. And so I would see how your hand holding, if you will, and guidance would be extremely valuable, as opposed to just trying to evaluate 3,000 franchises on your own.
Yep. I had a client right before the holidays who inquired about a brand that I had been doing some marketing on. And, he told me, he said, look, I want to do this on my own. I said, great. I said, I'm here to help you out with any questions. I said, but just be prepared when you start clicking the boxes online that you are going to get inundated with phone calls, emails. And sure enough, this week, beginning of the week, Monday, he picked up the phone and said, oh, how so right you were. He says, I don't know what to do with all this information. So it's, and look, people have to, even though there is a process to follow, people have their own process. And that's hard for some people to maneuver. So
right.
We got to, you got to get people through that.
So Scotty, let's attack this from the other side now. What if I had a business and I thought, you know what? I think this should be a franchise. I'll tell you a funny story, because my boyfriend, I don't know, maybe 3 years now, he's been wanting to start a pizza truck, and he has a great recipe. He's been researching the dough and and the cheese and everything. And I said, this is how I think you should run it. And I said, and you should document everything, because then this is a franchisable idea, in my opinion. But is that just like a dream? How often do you find an idea that you say, yeah, great, we can definitely work with this?
I have it. It's always better to franchise something that's in operation, because there's the validation part. I mean,
Absolutely.
Let's face it, everybody wants to invest in something that's going to make money, although ideas have been franchised. I mean, I will tell you this, I have a client right now that is in the medical space, and they have an idea and they're in the process of franchising it. One of the reasons and the main reasons that people franchise a business is they want to scale their business, but they don't want all the moving parts. So in other words, if you're gonna own 20 pizza trucks yourself, that's 20 employees, that's 20 trucks that you have to supply inventory, maintenance. If you want to scale, the easier way may be to franchise. You collect the royalties, but the franchisee is responsible for the ordering. You're setting up the processes, but they're handling all the day-to-day and the ordering and the books and things like that. So it's a great way to scale your business. 15, 20 years ago, it was a fortune to franchise your business. Now it's a lot more streamlined. The processes are a lot of templates now. And it's just a better way and a quicker way to scale your business.
And is there also an opportunity there where people have to order certain products from you?
Yep.
So it's almost a different type of model at that
Yep.
point.
License agreement. Yep. Yep. You'll find some of the medical CBD type companies that their license agreement. It's almost like a Chick-fil-A. That's what a Chick-fil-A is. It's not a franchise. It's a license agreement. They pay you, you pay them a fee. If you can get through the 10,000, 20,000 applicants they have a year, you pay them a fee. They eventually pick you. They pitch you in a store and they pay you a salary plus a bonus, but you don't own the business. Now, one of the things about franchising, the other component of franchising is, and we talked about exit strategies. As an independent, if you build the business and then later want to sell it, you're typically working on 3-4 times cash flow. Okay. When you get into a franchise and you have multiple units, private equity, people that are looking to buy a franchise system are typically paying anywhere from 10 to 15 times royalty flow. So if you do the math and you build something up, just use the example, if you have 50 units and everyone's doing $1 million and you're getting $1 million on each on royalties, and I'm stretching it a little bit, that's 50 million times 10% versus cash flow maybe of $1 million times 4%. So again, 5%. So again, there are a lot of advantages, but it takes time to build a franchise system. It does, there are very few that just take off. It takes time to develop and sell those opportunities.
And a lot of one-on-one, would you say?
Yep.
Hand-holding of the first few franchisees and figuring out what it is that they actually need.
Yep. As a franchisor, you don't want to grow too fast because you got to be able to support your franchisees. When I was involved as a franchisor, we were very cautious about how many units we would award somebody or sell somebody. We didn't want somebody buying 20 units because of ego. We wanted somebody who was going to buy 20 units because they wanted to open 20, not because they wanted to tell their friend, I just bought 20 of what.
Right.
So again, there's a lot of cautionary steps when you franchise your business.
So who's the ideal candidate for something like that? Like that they already have X number of locations or they have a specific system defined?
If you have a medical supply company and you have 2 or 3 locations, now you want to open more. Food's a perfect example of things. You have multiple restaurants, locations. There's automotive. The pet industry is booming with franchise companies right now. It's a recession resistant type business. It's a technology resistant. In other words, you're not going to compete with Amazon. Your mobile phone is your asset because you're scheduling. So I tend to like brands that are reoccurring revenue driven. Your service-based businesses, if you were getting into roofing, it's a big expense, but once you do that roof, you're not going to see that person for 15 years, 20 years.
Right.
So there are a lot of components in whether you franchise your business or what you're looking for to invest in a franchise, be a franchisee yourself.
I just opened my first co-working space and I want eventually to have more than one, but something like that, would it make sense to have like a franchise model, or would it be better off just to like build, just have the same person just owning all of the different locations?
Well, it depends on how big you want to grow and what when you scale. Some of the shared working spaces, you look at some of the people that are in that, they have 100 locations, so you have to say to yourself, well, if I wanted 100 locations, how would I have to manage 100 locations? And you're not going to put 100 locations right in your neighborhood. So now you got to start traveling. So when you start franchising a system like that, it's better to control. You have better control over the franchisees. You've established the systems, the branding, but now the franchisees are running the day-to-day and you're collecting the royalties.
And what is then incumbent upon that franchisor to be able to support? Do you then become, I don't want to say a babysitter, but a support person just to run around at all the locations and make sure they're doing what you told them to? I mean, what does your life look like then, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, you've built an internal support team. So if you're dealing in brick and mortar, you're either going to outsource or have somebody that's running your real estate department, helping the franchisee look for a location, negotiate the lease. You're going to have somebody that supports the franchisee on the marketing side. How are they branding? So there's a lot of different hey, my POS system broke down. Who do I call? Those kind of questions.
Right.
So you have the infrastructure, but it's not going to be as large as if you were doing it all yourself and had all those W-2 employees for the 100 locations.
Right. Right. I'm kind of thinking out of the box as well, as far as other opportunities. I hope I'm not like zinging around.
No, not at all. Not at all. These are great questions.
It's not my brain works. I'm thinking about, for example, like, let's say that I'm going to open a brick and mortar, but I'm going to open a franchise that involves a brick and mortar operation. And I tell people, okay, we're going to scout the location together. And once you choose the location, I'm going to maybe buy the land, or I'll build the building, and then you'll be my tenant, plus you'll be my franchisee. So it's sort of like a dual, stream there. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm thinking like, how Ray Kroc says he's in the real estate business,
Yep. Well, that's the 7-Eleven model as well. If you can get into a business, even as an independent, and own the real estate, you're doing yourself a favor. Now, not everybody has the financial means to do that. Yeah. So when we talk about the end game, the exit strategy, if you were to buy let's say you own your workspace environment.
Right.
If you decided that you wanted to sell the business component, you could sell the business component, but keep the real estate. So there are franchises out there where you can go out and own the real estate, own the business, and eventually sell the business if you wanted to, but still keep the real estate.
Right.
That's ideal. If you're paying yourself rent, what a great thought, right? I'm paying myself rent.
Exactly. Take it out of this pocket, put it in this pocket.
Exactly. So it's one of the aspects, and I've done a lot of work on with clients that want the real estate to come into play. They want to be able to eventually own the real estate. Now, maybe it's not their first location. Maybe it's not their second location. I mean, I have a client that owns 85 Great Clip salons. He's a multi-unit franchisee with them, and I've introduced him to other brands. But out of those 85 Great Clip salons, he probably owns the shopping centers or the buildings for 30% of them. So not only are you getting the net revenue on the actual business, but now you have the real estate and so forth.
And in that case, if he's got the whole, shopping center or something, he's also getting other types of revenue from other clients, which is great for diversity.
Yep. Now you don't get there overnight.
Right.
And so, but you have to strategically plan it. So franchising is a great way to get into a scalable business. You can own, I tell people, look, you like that brand, build it to as large as you want, and then stop if you're done, and then move on to another brand. And you can own multiple brands. It's hard to own multiple independent businesses. Right. It's a lot easier to own multiple franchises, different brands.
Because it's not the same type of demand, right? Once you get the plate spinning, it's pretty much going to stay spinning on its own.
Right.
Unlike your own business. You're constantly keeping that plate going.
That's right.
Excellent. So if you were to sort of define, and I know this could be totally different from anybody, but if somebody said, okay, we're going to build you your dream franchise, you're going to be the franchisor, what components would that have?
Wow, that's a great question. If I was going to build, I'm going to be 63 next month. So I'm kind of past the stage of building, because when you look at franchise opportunities, most contracts are 10 years. So, and I've actually been talking to a couple of different brands right now about investments, but the biggest pushback I'm having on myself and with my wife is that it's a 10-year agreement. So anyway, I think that if I was going to start a business or invest in a franchise, I would want to be in something that has reoccurring revenue. I want to be involved in a need, not a want. Now, I love food. I have a very, very strong food background. And to me, food is a need. But, the perception of food is that there's a long line or people are too deep in the bar and the cash is rolling in. That's not how food works. Food is not hard work. It's just long work. Yeah. And there's a lot of moving parts. And I also like businesses that don't have a lot of moving parts. There are some food concepts that are great, but I like those businesses that have that reoccurring revenue, not a lot of moving parts, are scalable, and have a great exit strategy that may include the real estate or just selling both the real estate and the business.
That's great. That's so helpful, because I think, that's something that as people are thinking about their own franchise, they think, okay, yeah, Scotty had some great ideas there. That's something that I'm interested in as well, because you need a way to narrow it down. You need a way to, I think it's a situation where if you're buying a franchise and you've never had your own business before, there's so much that you just can't quite fathom, right? I mean, do you feel that way, that there's things that are going to happen that you just really can't have a clue about unless you've really started your own and tried?
I equate what you're saying to if you're interviewing for a sales position, or you're interviewing somebody for a sales position, and you ask that person, why do you want to be in sales? And they tell you, well, I like people. Well, I have a pet that really loves people too. Should that dog be in sales? I mean, I think you get my point here is that you want to be in sales because in most cases, a sales position has uncapped, unlimited income potential. And you like that hunt, and you like the shark fishing, and there's that drive, there's that personal motivation. It's the same thing with owning your own business. You don't wake up one morning and say, I want to own my own business because I don't like my boss anymore.
Right.
There's a lot more to owning your own business. There has to be that drive, that passion, that entrepreneurial spirit. I mean, it's like, entrepreneurs, I look at entrepreneurs as two different types of people: the visionary, as I said, the person who can put all the pieces together, and then the entrepreneur who knows how to manage the pieces as such in a franchise, right, and scale it. So you can't buy a job. I get a lot of people call me up and said, I just got terminated, but I'm looking for a job, but I thought I'd look for my own business. And I'm like, look, this is a 90-day process, minimum 90-day process. You're going to get offered a job and you're going to take the job.
And they should.
They should.
And they should, because that's not their thing. They're not like, when I interview a lot of entrepreneurs, and I always think if they say, oh, I got in trouble in school all the time, I want to make my own rules and I just couldn't live under the system. I'm like, okay, you were born to be an entrepreneur. You're a troublemaker. I think that's a key component.
Well, it's funny you say that, because that is my background. I quit college. I was just not a school guy. I quit college my sophomore year and came home with all my bags. And my father said, what are you doing? And I said, I quit. I'm done. I have tried it your way. I'm done. I need to borrow $20,000. I want to open a pizzeria. Now, I won't tell you what my father said.
We can imagine.
But he turned around and said to me, I tell you what, if you like this, quote, food thing, that's what he called the food thing, why don't you go to the McDonald's School of Management? Now, I won't tell you what I said to him, because I had at 21, 20, whatever I was, I had no concept of what franchising was.
Right.
I said, I'm not doing that. I mean, so knowing what I know now, back then, I jump on a franchise, I mean, in a heartbeat, because it would have given me the structure, because being an entrepreneur, young entrepreneur, there's a lot to learn. You make a lot of mistakes. Now, you learn from your mistakes. It's better to make mistakes and learn than not make mistakes and not learn. That's my view. So.
Right. But as you said before, if you can learn from other people's mistakes,
yes,
and save yourself 10 years of, crap.
Yep.
Why not do it?
So it's franchising is a great avenue. Franchising a business, your business is a great avenue, but it's not easy. I mean, a lot of people, I get people that call me up and say, well, is the franchisor going to find me clients? Well, come on. I mean, spend your money on a lotto ticket. You got, there's got to be work. You got to put the time, effort, and energy into it and build it. And it doesn't happen overnight.
But I mean, in some respects, though, if they have a respected brand, then they sort of are bringing you clients,
Yep.
right? You open a McDonald's franchise and you're going to have everybody who already knows they love McDonald's.
Right. But not a lot of people, a small percentage have that $2 or $3 million to be able to step into that McDonald's.
Right.
McDonald's structure is more corporate. That's what they look for.
Yeah.
So again, it's all based on where you want to start and where do you want to end. I know plenty of people that started off small in franchising, built it, sold it, bought it, invested in it, built it, sold it. Now they own multiple brands and they own the McDonald's and some of the larger ones. So it's
just working
it's
your
out
way
there.
up the ladder. Excellent. So Scotty, what would you tell somebody who is pretty sure that they're ready to do some type of self-employed type franchise opportunity? Where would you suggest they begin?
Well, first of all, you have to program yourself that you want to put yourself in a position to learn. If you're gonna go into this endeavor and investigate, but you think you know more than everybody else, you're not going to get far. So you got to keep your mind open and want to learn. Typically, your commitment is anywhere from 1 to 2 hours a week to learn about a brand or brands, and then eventually make a validated decision. The other component is that you got to know what your why is. Why do you want to do this? Like I said, not liking your boss, or, there's a lot of inner thought that has to go into this on why you want to do it. Now, if you've come to all those decisions and you've got it down on paper or in your mind, find a consultant. That's what I would recommend. Me, anybody else, somebody that you can grow trust with, and start the process. And let the consultant, someone like me, kind of guide you to a decision process.
Yeah.
I mean, you could always say no. I mean, I'd rather people say no now than after they made the investment.
For sure. Yeah. So, don't find out the hard way that you hate your job again.
That's right. That's right.
So, Scotty, how do you get paid?
The services that I provide my clients for all the consultation, the guidance, the education is absolutely at no cost to them. I get compensated by the brands, over 500 of them in my portfolio that I represent. So when if one of my clients invests in that particular brand or brands, I've had clients that have bought more than one, they will pay me a fee for bringing that candidate and helping them make that decision process. And
you don't care which one of the 500 they choose?
Nope. As long as it's the right decision for them and their family. It's and it's a decision based on validation, not based on emotion. So
yeah, exactly. So what else should I have asked you, Scotty, that I just didn't have a clue enough to ask, or that I just forgot?
I think the big part, we talked about knowing your why, wanting to learn. One of the first steps that I try to get my clients to take, and sometimes it's hard because they feel it's a commitment or it's a step closer to a commitment. We all know what it's like to make a commitment, is the financial side. I pay for my clients to talk to a financial consultant to make sure that they're in a position, if they're going to require financing or want to use financing, what their qualifications are and what they would qualify for. Because as I said earlier, and as we started to talk, you don't want to be undercapitalized. You don't want to be overcapitalized. You want to be properly financed and capitalized to start a business. Yeah. And the last thing I want to do is introduce somebody to an opportunity, get them all excited about it, and then they find out they don't qualify. Yeah. For some people, they just don't like telling you where they are or financially. And I get that. It's confidential, but you really need to know really what you would qualify for. It's like buying a house or any type of a car, any type of asset. Yeah. You've got to know what you can qualify for.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Excellent.
Yes.
So let's say that someone is, you work with people all over the country, right? You don't,
Yes. Yep.
people aren't geographically limited.
Nope. All over the country.
So how can
Occasionally
people,
internationally, but mostly in the US.
great. And how can people reach out to you? Because we're actually in 50 countries or maybe more
Wow.
now, but we're,
Interesting. Yeah. I do a lot of work with E2 visa people looking to come over. There's certain guidelines, certain employees, types of business. To get the best thing, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. It's under Scott Milas, and it's Mila, as in Apple, S as in Sam, Milas. I go by Scotty because it just seems to be a little bit more friendlier than Scott. My wife gave me that name many, many moons ago. You can email me, scott@scottmilasfranchisecoach.com. Visit my website, scottmilasfranchisecoach.com. I do have a YouTube channel. Just Google Scott Milas, it'll come up. But even if you just have some general questions, give me a call. I still use a phone, believe it or not. 860
weird.
860-751-9126. But take your time on this endeavor. You shouldn't feel rushed. And if somebody's pushing you to make a decision, run fast. However, you do reach a point where you have to make a decision. There are no maybes in this franchise process. You're either in or you're out, and that's okay, but there's no maybes. I mean, you reach a point where your validation is done and you have to make a decision.
Yeah, you can't just stick your toe in the water. You really have to dive in and
and want to learn and make a decision.
Yeah, so. Excellent. Excellent. Well, all those links will be in the show notes. And I think if you even have any imagination that you might have been interested ever in your orbit in your life to pursue some type of a franchise opportunity, why not just hop on the phone with Scotty and blow up his phone and see what he has to say? It could be life-changing.
I appreciate
really,
it. Yeah,
right?
it could be. And to one last point, I know plenty of people that started out as a franchisee, the business owner, and later became the franchisor, developed the concept, sold their businesses as a franchisee, and then became a franchisor. So there's a lot of roadmaps, or what I call 7 turns, that people can make when you get involved in this part of business ownership.
And that's, I actually thought of that earlier when you were talking, but why make all the mistakes yourself? Because there are books, there are people, lots of people to train you to do that. So if you think you want to be a franchisor, why not learn exactly how it's done by being a franchisee? It's the perfect thing to do. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Great.
Excellent. Thanks, Scotty. Thanks for being with us today and sharing all of your interesting stories and wisdom on franchising. And thank you, listener, for listening to us today. Think of somebody in your life who is ready, who you think, geez, this person's been talking for 10 years about doing this thing, and I think they should just, fish or cut bait. Give them Scotty's info, give them the link to this episode, and get them off the log.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed the conversation.
Me too, very much. And everybody have a great week.
Bye-bye.